I'm gonna be honest, I didn't actually want to say the name of the show because it makes me sound ridiculous no matter how many times I say it. The English version hurts me to my very soul to say, and just because I know Japanese doesn't make it any less difficult to say it in Japanese either. So, Kimi no Koto ga Daidaidaidaiisuki na Hyakunin no Kanojo, second season did finish recently. And in fact, of all of the seasonal shows that I watched, this one started late. This one started last out of all of the seasonal shows that I watched. So this one ended up finishing last, and I'm gonna be honest, this is quite a bit of an improvement on season 1. So basically the premise is that we have our main character here in the middle, Aijo Rentaro. Now Rentaro, he has been rejected by 100 girls, and ultimately he happens to, I think, was it a fairy or something, gave him basically like this thing called the stare. Let's see, down on his luck, goes to a matchmaking shrine, wishes, to get a girlfriend, and what ends up happening instead is when he sees another girl eye for eye, and he sees he feels this kind of shocking sensation inside of him, the other person will also feel the same shocking sensation and immediately fall in love with him. The thing is, though, he has to make 100 girlfriends within a limited amount of time, otherwise he will remain lonely for the remainder of his life. And so basically that's what this whole idea is, this whole premise of that he has to make 100 girlfriends. And at the beginning of the season, I want to say there's about... Wait, hold on. There's 4 this season. So I think he makes 7 girlfriends in the first season, and then another 4 this season, totaling at like 11 by the end of the season. And if me giving out the numbers of like how many characters are introduced to Rentaro's harem, it's not actually a spoiler, given that it's really more of a spoiler as to whether or not he'll even hit the 100, let alone how long it takes, who those characters are, and whatever's going on. And I feel like with all of the material advertising the show and the new characters that are shown, it's just showing us, here are the new characters, here's who is going to be falling for, and it's really more a guess of like what is the character archetypes for these individuals, basically. So yeah, a big improvement on this season is taking it a little bit slower, introducing less characters, so there isn't as much getting used to, but also rather than it being him and the girl that he's falling for, or the girl is falling for him, or whatever, like the both of them basically coming together, he's kind of had to do that himself. But now with some of these newer girls that are joining, basically it's like a group effort among the other girlfriends he's made previously to come together and help whoever this new girl is that is joining the harem. So basic plot synopsis, idea, concept has now been kind of injected into the video. Let's actually talk about the show itself. So the opening theme, didn't like it. I don't know, I don't like the caveman aesthetic that was going on with Aijo and like the other characters, but that's just, again, something that I personally wasn't a fan of. The ending theme, I really liked the cutesy look of it. The music was fine. I wouldn't say it was bad, but I wouldn't say it's good either. I'm leaning more towards good, but even then, I'm just like, there were times where it was really good and times in which it didn't feel that great, like the music, but the visuals I liked throughout for sure when it came to the ending theme. So opening theme, did not like just because of the visuals and stuff like that. The music, I don't even remember, so forgettable at best. And the ending theme was fine music-wise, and the visuals I really did like. I like the cutesy, cheapy character aesthetic with like the theme park in the middle of it, plus using like the theater aesthetic both at the beginning and at the end, which was quite nice. I liked it. That being said, however, story not to take seriously. In fact, it's actually not even important for me to talk about the story, because keeping in mind this is not a romance show, this is a parody. Go into it knowing that everything that's happening is a massive joke. At whose expense? It's very difficult to tell at whose expense. Probably the person watching the show. So let's put it that way. As long as you go in at the back of your mind knowing that it is a parody, you will have a good time. If you consider this to be a normal romance show, as I said with my season 1 review, you're not going to have a good time and you're not going to enjoy this show because you're taking it far too seriously. So, with all that being said, story not really worth mentioning because everything is basically in an episodic format, and for that reason there isn't really much in the way of character arcs except for our main character Rentaro, who basically is just continuing his journey through this manga for what, basically his adaptation, whatever there might be. I still don't like the very cutesy visual aesthetic. I still am not a fan of it, but I'm just gonna have to go with it. I think the manga aesthetic looked a bit better, like looking at this image here. I do like this aesthetic a little bit more, but maybe there's a bit more detail and it's not moving as much. So I think a lack of detail and making characters look a little bit more sort of cutesier may have been the very idea. But again, not too much of a fan of the art style in my opinion. Story, opening and ending themes, art style, characters. So everyone is an archetype. Don't expect anything beyond that, I would say. And normally that would be a negative if characters were too archetypal, but the thing is that it suits it here because it's a parody, and not because it's a poorer quality thing, but the thing is that the archetypal aspects of characters are pushed so far ahead that it's almost a parody in and of itself, and that's why it seems like it works. For example, the mom, for example, she asks for some things that I feel like any mom would want, but she takes it way too far, and then like the sexual harassment joke gets used a few too many times with her, or Nano, who basically acts like a very emotionless character because her name is AI. It's spelled E-I-A-I, but the thing is that it's pronounced like artificial intelligence, like, an NPC you'd expect to see in a game, for example, not Gen AI, which I want to make a big distinction between. Like, she's archetypally more of a robot than ever before, and that doesn't change matters. Like, it's taken to an almost cartoonishly extent to come around and be kind of entertaining in a way, so it doesn't actually detract from the show by making me think of those archetypes and other characters who fall in those archetypes. No, they push it so much more forward that it becomes almost cartoonish in its own way or sense. So in that way, it almost comes back around to being kind of entertaining, and therefore using something that is so hilariously not unique to making it be feeling unique by the characters that are presenting those archetypes in the end. So those are just like sort of a couple of examples. I don't really have much more to say about the show because there really isn't much more to say. I feel like I've covered a lot of what the show kind of is doing, what it has done, and I'm having a good time. I had a good time watching it. I had fun. But I think that this is actually a perfectly fine show. And so it's just good. Like, I don't think that it's doing anything insane, exceptional, or otherwise. So this is definitely for me a 7 out of 10 on my MyAnime list, which I've just popped in there. So now that's going to reflect on my MyAnime list anyways. But yeah, it's just a fine time. I don't know what else to say beyond that. So yeah, have fun with that description, I guess. And that sort of review. But let me know what you guys think about all of that in the comments below, especially if you've seen the show, because I feel like a lot of people are going to have a lot of different types of opinions regarding it. So I would certainly be interested to hearing, or rather seeing, what you guys have to say in the comments below. But with all that being said, however, let me know what you guys think about all of that in the comments below. Like the video if you liked it, subscribe to the channel. I'm aiming for 500 subs by the end of the year. With all that being said, I do upload every day, so I'll see you guys tomorrow.